Engines that move markets. Technology investing from railroads to the internet and beyond. By Alasdair Nairn. This is a book summary. Picture this. A new invention shakes the world. Investors rush in, eager to ride the wave of progress. Stocks soar. Fortunes are made overnight. And then, the unthinkable. The market crumbles. Billion-dollar companies vanish. Investors lose everything. Panic spreads. And yet, out of the rubble, some of these innovations rise again, more powerful than ever. If you think today's world is moving at an unprecedented pace, think again. Every major technological revolution, railroads, electricity, automobiles, radio, computers, the internet, has followed the same playbook. It's a pattern as old as capitalism itself. The story of progress is not a straight line. It's a thrilling roller coaster of innovation, speculation, and, inevitably, collapse. But here's the kicker. Understanding these cycles gives you a massive advantage. What if you could spot the next big wave before it happens? What if you knew when to cash out before the crash? Buckle up, because once you see the pattern, you'll never look at innovation the same way again. Scene 1, the market's hidden blueprint. What if I told you the dot-com bubble of the 2000s was no different from the railroad mania of the 1800s? Or that the roaring 1920s stock boom had eerie similarities to today's cryptocurrency hype? It sounds crazy, right? But history tells us otherwise. The markets are like echoes in time, repeating themselves with different players, different industries, but the same old script. Here's how it happens. Every time. First, skepticism. The world isn't ready. People laugh at the idea of cars replacing horses or computers fitting in your pocket. Then, something shifts, an invention proves itself. The skeptics turn into believers. Excitement builds. Investors pile in, dreaming of untold riches. The market enters its mania phase, valuations skyrocket, everyone wants a piece. Until reality hits. Competition floods in, oversupply crashes prices. The bubble pops, the wreckage is brutal, companies disappear overnight. Bankruptcies soar. But wait, this isn't the end of the story. Because out of the ashes, the real winners emerge. The strongest companies survive. Railroads became America's backbone, despite the financial carnage of the 1840s. Electricity didn't disappear after Edison's initial failures. It powered the world. The internet, it crashed hard, but today Google, Facebook, and Amazon dominate the global economy. And guess what? The same pattern is unfolding before our eyes, with AI, space tech, and renewable energy leading the charge. Understanding this cycle is the ultimate investor's advantage. Those who see it coming, they don't just survive, they thrive. So the question is, are you ready for the next big boom? Scene 2. The four engines that shaped the world. Throughout history, a handful of innovations haven't just changed industries, they've reshaped the entire world. These weren't just new ideas, they were seismic shifts that redefined how we live, work, and invest. But here's the thing. Every single one followed the same explosive pattern. Breakthrough, hype, speculation, collapse, and then dominance by the survivors. It's a cycle as predictable as the rising sun. Yet investors keep falling for the same traps. Let's break it down, one engine at a time. The railroad revolution, the first great boom and bust. Imagine a world before railroads. Travel was slow, dangerously slow. Moving goods across a country took weeks, sometimes months, making trade expensive and economies fragmented. Then, railroads changed everything. Tracks were laid, cities were connected, and industries flourished. Suddenly, steel magnates and landowners weren't just rich, they were kings. Cornelius Vanderbilt and his rivals built empires, and the stock market followed in a frenzy. Investors saw limitless possibilities until reality hit. The railroads, like all great innovations, sparked a massive investment boom. Speculators flooded in, betting on every new railway project, convinced they'd found a gold mine. But there were too many railroads, too much greed, companies overborrowed, tracks were built where they weren't needed, and then, boom, the bubble burst. Stocks crashed, fortunes vanished overnight, and yet, even after the financial carnage, the strongest railroad companies survived and became the backbone of modern economies. Sound familiar? That's because this is a story we've seen again and again. Electricity and oil, the spark that lit the world. Next came a force even more powerful: electricity. Thomas Edison didn't just invent a light bulb, he changed the way humanity functions after dark. Factories ran longer, cities came alive, and the electric age was born. But just like with railroads, early investors rushed in, eager to stake their claim. Thousands of electric companies emerged, promising untold riches. Most of them, they failed. It wasn't the idea of electricity that was flawed. It was the short-term speculation that destroyed investors. Meanwhile, another revolution was bubbling beneath the surface: oil. When the world realized that crude oil could power entire cities and fuel transportation, the rush to extract and refine it became an all-out war. John D. Rockefeller took control, creating a monopoly so powerful that the government had to break it apart. But before that happened, the stock market was flooded with wild speculation. Not all investors struck gold. Many lost everything on poorly run operations. But those who bet on the right companies, they walked away with generational wealth. Telecom and the radio boom, connecting the world. Communication was the next frontier. The telegraph shrank the world. The telephone connected families, businesses, and entire nations. And then came radio, the magic box that brought news and entertainment into every home. Investors saw the future and poured money into telecom companies. The result? The same pattern as before. First came skepticism, then hysteria. People thought radio was unstoppable. But speculation got out of control. Companies expanded too quickly, and soon, bankruptcies flooded the market. Investors were burned once again. But just like railroads and electricity, the strongest companies emerged from the rubble. AT&T built a monopoly, radio turned into a commercial empire, and the survivors shaped the future of media. The technology wasn't the problem, the investor frenzy was. And then, the internet arrived. The biggest revolution since the industrial age. The 1990s were a frenzy. .com companies popped up overnight, promising to change the world. Investors didn't ask for business models or profits. All they needed was a .com in the name, and money poured in. Stocks skyrocketed, until they didn't. The internet bubble burst, wiping out billions in wealth. But was it really a failure? Not at all. Amazon survived. Google rose from the ashes. Facebook was still just an idea. The crash wasn't the end, it was just a reset. The strongest companies didn't just recover, they dominated the world economy. The lesson? Every world-changing technology follows the same cycle. Skepticism, hype, mania, collapse, and then true transformation. The internet didn't die after 2000, it came back bigger than ever. And today we're seeing history repeat itself with AI, space travel, and renewable energy. Scene 3, how you can spot the next big wave. Now that you've seen the pattern, let's break down what you can do to spot the next big wave before it crashes, or worse, before you get in too late. Innovation is always met with skepticism. If people say, "This will never work," pay attention. Hype creates bubbles, but bubbles don't mean failure. Even when the .com bubble burst, the internet didn't die. It came back stronger. Smart investors ride the cycle, not fight it. They don't jump in too late, and they don't panic when the hype fades. The world is changing faster than ever. AI, quantum computing, space travel. The next engine is already revving up. Every major technological revolution was dismissed at first. The same way people mocked the idea of railroads replacing horse-drawn carriages, or the idea of talking to someone across the world through a phone. Today, skeptics scoff at AI taking over creative industries, at humans colonizing Mars, and at clean energy fully replacing oil. But history has a habit of proving the doubters wrong. History doesn't just repeat itself, it rewards those who learn from it. If you want to understand how the biggest market revolutions happen and how to stay ahead, get your hands on the 4 engines that move markets. Don't just watch the future unfold, be part of it. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive into market history and the future of investing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. What do you think is the next trillion-dollar industry? We'll see you in the future.